Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm starting to hear more and more people saying that they are tired of hearing about all of the things that are taking place in the world. Now, I know this to be a coping mechanism. It's like a built-in safety net or security for your person. This information that we are hearing is not just something we're hearing, we're also seeing. But for a lot of people, in order to cope with and deal with what is happening, they don't want to hear about it. They would prefer shutting it out. In shutting this information out, I think the danger in that could be entering yourself into a world of illusion. Because when you want to cut yourself off from reality, you're basically saying that I want my mind to be on something a lot more positive. I want my mind to, and I know it sounds strange. Let me just frame this up the right way, because we are supposed to keep our minds on positive things, right? But this is where a relationship with the Most High comes in. Because we are seeing things and we are in a certain time, it is expected of us to see and know the signs of the time. The Bible actually tells us that we are supposed to be able to discern the signs of the time, right? Those that are righteous should be able to discern the signs of the time, right? But at the same time, we can have peace and shalom in our minds. But what some are wanting to do, they're wanting to completely shut out what's happening in the world so that they can have a false sense of peace. Did you know that you can have peace even with all the chaos that's happening in the world if your trust is in the Most High? That's the important part of all of this. If you keep your faith and trust in the Most High, you can have peace in the midst of a storm. Remember when the ship was being tossed to and fro and the disciples said, "Master, carest thou not that we perish?" And Yahushua was doing what? He was resting. He was resting in that ship that was being tossed to and fro by the waves of the sea. So in the midst of this turbulent situation, he was able to rest. But they were worried, fretting about what they were feeling, about the storm. The storms of life should not make you fear. If you put your faith and trust in the Most High, Yahushua said, "Peace be still," and the storm stopped. So when he tells us greater works than these shall ye do, shouldn't we be able to speak to the storm in our lives and say, "Peace be still," while it continues to rage on over the wicked? In other words, we can still have peace in the midst of the storm because prophecy has to come to pass. We can look at these things and say, we could just say simply, "My Father's at work." We don't have to have fear. Are y'all hearing me? Right? These things must come to pass. They must come to pass. And because they must come to pass, we've got to get our minds right. Okay? We can't shut our minds off from the world and not knowing what's going on. Someone asks you a question. What do you think about what's happening over here? What do you think about what's happening over there? You're like, "I don't know because I don't pay attention. I didn't even know that happened. My mind is on something else." The Most High wants us to be able to. Do y'all get what I'm trying to say here? He wants us to be able to discern the time while at the same time being able to have our trust in Him. So basically, when Yahushua was in the belly of that ship, Yahushua is the one who the world calls Jesus, right? That wasn't his name, though. When he was down there resting and they were up there fretting and saying, we about to perish. Don't you care? They could have been resting right along with him. They could have been saying, well, look, you know what? This storm is raging right now. I think I'm going to go down and I'm going to get me some rest too while the storm is raging. Can you imagine having that kind of faith and trust to where when the storm is raging, you could just go to sleep? Or you could simply pray. But you ain't got to look up and say, carest thou not that we perish? It's like the master was with them and they are sitting there worried about their lives. So basically what I am trying to say here, I do understand the thought behind wanting to shut out what's happening in the world. I understand the thought behind it, but I can't say that I agree with it, right? I understand it because the human mind don't want to deal with reality sometimes. The human mind wants to simply explain it away by pretending it doesn't exist. Right? And then there are some who have a false sense of peace. That false sense of peace is them being at ease while the whole world is in turmoil and everything is going well for them. And they simply shut out the fact that there is biblical prophecy unfolding, because I'll give you a good example. When you look at rich folk, for instance, they feel like nothing can touch them because their money can buy their peace. Their money can buy them out of their situation. This is how they feel, right? This is why you have a lot of CEOs. They may see the handwriting on the wall of what's happening in the U.S., so they've abandoned ship, stepped down the CEO, and many of them have moved abroad because they think they can escape. It is their belief that they can just simply escape what is happening in the U.S. economy by simply abandoning ship and going elsewhere. But that is not how it works. In the book of Revelation, it talks about how they are going to try to run down into their dens. And it says the Most High is going to go into their dens, which in modern terms would be bunker. They're going to try to go into their bunkers. And the Most High is going to say, I can find you there. You can go into your bunker all you want, but I can find you there. It's almost like you can run, but you can't hide. Most High's eyes are in every place, beholding the good and the evil. And so as the world turns, as everything happens, as everything unfolds, as humanity gets increasingly wicked, we've got to know and be able to discern the times. How can you discern the times if you refuse to see, know, or understand what is happening? Closing your eyes and ears to reality does not change the reality of prophecy. Biblical prophecy tells us that certain things are going to take place, and these things are indeed going to take place. Our refusal to acknowledge, accept, or understand what is happening is not going to change the reality of what is happening. Us tuning out is not going to change the reality. But if you still want to have peace in the midst of all of this, you can. But that peace has to be real. It can't be the kind of peace you have because you don't know about what's happening. It can't be the kind of peace where you say, well, I don't really pay attention to that kind of stuff. So I don't know what's happening in the Middle East. I don't know what's happening around the world. I only know what's happening in my neck of the woods. That's not real peace. Because when real and true destruction comes upon the earth, you will not have prepared your mind. But if you prepare your mind by having that real peace and that real shalom that only the Most High can give, even though all of these things are happening in the world, you will be all right. You will be all right. That is what I am talking about, family. That is what I am talking about. Having our faith in the Most High, understanding biblical prophecy, and looking at things with a spiritual eye, because spiritual things are spiritually discerned. Let's stay focused, family. Let's stay prayerful. Let's continue to discern the times and do what it is we must do. And what it is we must do is prepare. We have to prepare for the future, starting now. Prepare for the season before the season. With that, I am out.